So we're talking about old friends from young years, right? The
Yeah,
indie record.
the
That
indie
was
record.
our first attempt at making a full length album, and we recorded it at Tobin's dad's studio in Pittsburgh, California. He had a garage studio that he had he had a tracking room, vocal booth, all the mics, ADAT machines, some bells and whistles and toys, to get it on, get everything on tape. We recorded it to digital audio, and it was just, I think we spent, we scrounged and saved and pitched in, and we were able to put together, I think it cost us $600 to record that record just for the recording, and then like printing and design. Of course, like the album cover, I designed the album cover and did all the CD layout and everything like that. And then we had it printed through. There's a company called Disc Makers out there. I think they're still around, but that's how we produced and distributed the record, was through Disc Makers, and I did all the artwork and stuff like that. But dude, at that time, and I think you might, I mean, as far as just like pure, I remember like the recordings. I mean, that was before, we were just so raw then, right? So raw, and we wanted to be experimental and dissonant and heavy. And then, but there was like this kind of like this current of like expressing like emotional, I think even like the whole like discussing like mental health and stuff like that, it's kind of, starts to creep its way in on that record. It was kind of, like if you think about a lot of Papa Roach music, I mean, it's a lot about, confronting your demons, overcoming, and then, persevering through the other side, and that, I think that's been consistent throughout the career, but with me and then after me, if you listen to the lyrical content and stuff like that. But at that time, yeah, we just wanted to be heavy, and we were still young and raw, and it was a great time to be that, because music was that at that time. There's so many, like I said, independent, and like it was cool to sound lo-fi. It was cool to sound like you didn't have a big budget studio. You know what I mean? Like that was what was cool, and then for us, like, and then if you listen to that record, my Pink Floyd The Wall story, kind of makes that record makes more sense, because there's a lot of like little there's little not, I wouldn't say skits, but little like vignettes of sound and things like that kind of like bleed from one song to another. And that I brought that in because of Pink Floyd The Wall. It's like, how do I wallify this album? How do I make an album that takes you on a journey? And were we talking about influences too?
Yeah,
Who the
because that's
influences?
the recording is very raw.
Yeah, for sure.
The album is very heavy. I mean, I'd say it's one of Papa Roach's heaviest albums. You can hear that it's Papa Roach with the signature, singing, screaming, rapping, all of that's there, all the elements of Papa Roach. I'm curious what the biggest influences were for all the members of the band together as a whole, because you might have brought in Pink Floyd influence and the grunge influence, maybe the other members something else. So I'd say as a whole, which bands do you think influenced that recording specifically the most?
Dude, I'll say Faith No More for sure. Mr. Bungle, which is another Mike Patton band, right? Um, Beastie Boys, Rage, obviously. Uh, like Cypress Hill, right? The Pixies, if that makes any sense, but it does. Like one of the songs is actually, the name of the song is like something we heard on a Pixies record, where it's like Black Francis was like screaming like, "I said you fucking die," and like we wrote a song like and named it that, like it's so but like just the kind of like melodic, you know what I mean, like there's definitely like Pixies influence, if that, it sounds so weird to say it, but it's true. And um you know there was a local band at that time who were kind of like our big brothers in the scene, or we saw them as that. And I think they just saw us as like little flies that they should, you know, like swat away. But there was this local band at that time called the Deftones that really inspired us when we were starting out. You know what I mean? Like we would go see them play like in 1993 at Berkeley Square in the Bay Area, which is like a little tiny, like 100-person club. You know what I mean? It's where Primus recorded Suck on This, like their live record. Just a small little, just a little shithole, really, dude. But it was amazing. It was beautiful.
So this is before their album Adrenaline comes out?
Yeah, before Adrenaline, for sure. And they sounded like, it's crazy because they were on their way. Like when you think of Adrenaline, like everyone thinks like that's like their first kind of taste of Deftones or what Deftones was going to become. But before that, there was a lead up to that sound as well. They weren't like fully formed. Like even in Adrenaline, they weren't fully formed, but the seed was there, right? But I remember Deftones when they had even more like Bad Brains and reggae kind of in the music. They had like a straight up reggae song, like a hip hop song. And they were just like the local heroes like in the scene. But Sacramento had such a great scene at that time too. There was another band called Far that was amazing. Sean Lopez from Crosses was the guitar player for that band. Jonah Matrenga.